Hey everyone, and welcome to our deep dive on learning English on your own.
It's great to be here.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about some really practical tips and tricks today.
That's right. And whether you're learning for work or for fun or just for the heck of it,
Yeah,
we've got some stuff for you.
I think one of the most important things to start off with is goals.
Absolutely. Goals are so important
hmm
because they give you something to aim for
Right.
and they help you stay motivated along the way. And there are actually two types of goals that are important when it comes to learning English.
Okay.
We've got short-term goals and we have long-term goals.
Well, interesting. So like a short-term goal for me might be like, I want to learn 10 new vocabulary words this week.
Exactly. That's a perfect example of a short-term goal. And then a long-term goal might be something like, I want to be able to have a conversation with a native English speaker.
Right. Or like read a book
Yes.
or watch a movie.
Absolutely. All great examples of long-term goals.
So the short-term goals are kind of like the building blocks to get you to the long-term goal.
That's a great way to put it. They're like stepping stones
Yeah.
that help you reach that ultimate destination.
Awesome. So we got goals.
You got goals.
Check. And what about resources?
Resources. Oh, there are so many fantastic resources out there, especially free resources, which is amazing.
Especially free ones. Yes.
Yeah. Tell me more.
So one of the first places I always recommend people start are apps.
Okay, apps. There are a bunch of apps out there. Which ones are your favorites?
There's one that's really popular. It uses these fun little exercises and games to help you learn new words and grammar.
Yeah.
And you can kind of track your progress. You can even compete with friends, which is always fun.
Yeah, a little friendly competition. Never hurt anybody.
Exactly.
What else?
Another app I really like uses something called spaced repetition.
Spaced repetition. That sounds very sciencey.
It's a really cool technique that helps you remember words better.
Okay, how so?
It basically shows you words right before you're likely to forget them.
That's so smart.
It's like it knows your brain better than you do.
But it's a really effective way to build your vocabulary.
Nice. Okay, so apps are really great.
Apps are great, but they're not the only thing out there.
What else is there?
We also have websites
Okay,
with tons of free lessons and resources.
cool. Like what?
There's one website I really like that's run by the BBC,
BBC. Okay,
and they have lessons on grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation.
nice.
They even have stuff about British culture, so you can kind of learn about the culture while you're learning the language.
I love that. Two birds, one stone.
Exactly.
What about YouTube?
YouTube? Oh, YouTube is a goldmine for language learners.
It really is. I mean, you can find anything on YouTube.
Anything, yeah.
So I'm sure there are lots of English learning videos.
Tons and tons of videos.
Okay, any recommendations?
So many, but a few that come to mind. One channel I really like for general tips on learning English.
Okay,
And then another channel I like has really clear lessons, especially for beginners.
nice. So something for everyone.
Something for everyone. And then if you want to really focus on speaking, there's a channel that I like that focuses on pronunciation and grammar.
Nice.
And they have lots of practice activities. And then there's another channel that I like that actually has podcasts.
Oh, cool.
So you can listen to people speaking English naturally.
Right.
And they also provide transcripts so you can read along as you listen.
That's awesome. I love that. So you can see how the words are spelled.
Exactly. And it really helps with your listening comprehension as well.
Nice. Okay. So many resources.
So many resources. And the best part is
Free.
they're free.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You really don't have any excuses.
No excuses.
You can just jump right in.
Just jump right in.
So now that we've kind of got our goals set
Yes.
and we know where to find all the resources,
Right.
how do we actually make sure that we're practicing?
Consistency is key.
Consistency, okay.
You want to try to practice a little bit every day, even if it's just for 15 or 20 minutes.
Yeah, because it's better than doing like one huge chunk once a month.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
much better to do a little bit every day, and it becomes a habit.
Right. And I think one thing that has helped me a lot is finding ways to fit practice into my everyday life.
Oh, that's a great tip.
So like I'll listen to an English podcast when I'm cooking dinner,
Perfect.
or I'll read an English article on my lunch break.
That's awesome.
So it's not like I have to set aside 2 hours to sit down and study.
Right.
I can just kind of weave it into my day.
Exactly. And it makes it so much more manageable and enjoyable.
Right. And then it doesn't feel so overwhelming.
Exactly.
So find those pockets of time.
Yes, find those pockets of time.
And another thing that can be really helpful is making a plan.
A plan, absolutely.
So like I'll sit down on Sunday night and I'll kind of map out what I want to learn during the week.
That's a great strategy.
So maybe Monday is for vocabulary, Tuesday is for grammar,
Right.
Wednesday is for listening practice.
I love it.
And that way I'm not just kind of like randomly jumping around.
You have a focus for each day.
Exactly. I have a purpose. And I think that that can really help you stay on track.
Absolutely. And you can use those resources we talked about to help you with your plan.
Right. So maybe I'll use an app for my vocabulary practice one day,
Yes.
and then I'll watch a YouTube video on grammar the next day.
Perfect.
So it's all about finding what works for you
Exactly.
and creating a plan that you can stick to.
I love it. You're making me want to make a plan right now.
I know, me too. It's exciting.
It is.
Okay, so we've got goals, we've got resources, we've got a plan.
Check, check, check.
Now let's talk about the scariest part.
The scariest part. Dun 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 dun.
Speaking.
Yeah. Speaking out loud.
I think this is something that a lot of people are afraid of
It's very common.
because it's, putting yourself out there.
It is. It's vulnerable,
And it's scary to make mistakes.
but it's so important.
It's essential.
And if you want to actually be able to speak English.
Right, because you can learn all the grammar rules and vocabulary in the world.
Yeah.
But if you can't actually put it into practice and speak,
Right.
then it's not really that useful.
Exactly. So we need to practice speaking, even if it's scary.
Absolutely. So any tips for those of us who are terrified?
Well, one of the easiest things you can do is actually talk to yourself in English.
Talk to yourself. So like in the mirror, like hello me.
You can talk to yourself in the mirror if you want,
Yeah.
but you can also just talk out loud while you're doing everyday things.
So like I'm washing the dishes. I could be like, I'm washing the dishes.
Exactly. Or you could describe what you're doing while you're cooking.
Right. I'm chopping the vegetables.
Exactly. You're already practicing.
Ain't no one's there to judge me.
Nobody's judging you. You're in the comfort of your own home.
Perfect.
It's a great way to just get those words out of your mouth and start feeling more comfortable.
Yeah, because I think the more you do it, the less scary it becomes.
Absolutely. The more you practice, the easier it gets.
Okay, so talk to yourself. What else?
Another thing you can do is record yourself speaking
Oh, that's a good one.
and then listen back to it.
That is a good one. But it can also be a little bit cringy.
It can be, but it's really helpful because you can hear what you sound like.
Okay.
And you can identify areas where you might need to improve.
Right, so like if I realize I'm making the same pronunciation mistake over and over again,
Exactly.
I can work on that.
You can focus on that specific sound and try to get it right.
Okay, I like that.
It's like having your own personal language coach in your pocket.
Right, that's a good way to put it.
Okay.
Okay, so we can talk to ourselves, we can record ourselves.
Yes.
Are there any ways to practice with like real people,
Real people. Yes.
even though we're learning on our own?
Even though you're learning on your own.
Because I feel like you do need to talk to someone at some point.
Absolutely. You need to interact with other people.
Yes.
And there are some great ways to do that online.
Okay.
There are these apps called language exchange apps,
Oh, cool.
and they connect you with native English speakers
awesome.
and also other people who are learning English from all over the world.
So it's like a pen pal, but for speak.
Exactly. It's like a modern day pen pal.
That's so cool.
And you can chat with people through texts, through voice calls, or even video calls.
Awesome. So you can really get that practice of like back and forth conversation
Exactly.
and like asking questions. And,
Yeah,
actually using the language in a real life setting.
exactly. And it's a great way to meet people from different cultures.
Yeah, that's a huge bonus.
It is. It's like traveling the world from your living room.
I love it. So many ways to practice.
So many ways. And it's all about finding what works best for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's no one right way.
No, there's no one-size-fits-all approach.
It's all about finding your groove
Finding your groove. I love that.
and experimenting
Experimenting.
and seeing what you enjoy the most.
Exactly, because when you enjoy something, you're more likely to stick with it.
Exactly. And that's what we want. We want to make sure that you're actually enjoying the process of learning English.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't feel like a chore.
Right.
It feels like something that's fun and exciting.
And rewards. Yes.
Rewarding.
Because it is.
It really is. All right. So we've talked about a lot of great stuff so far,
We have.
but there's still so much more to cover.
There is so much more.
So make sure you stay tuned for the next part of our deep dive.
Yes. We can't wait to share more tips with you.
And until then, happy learning.
Happy learning. Welcome back to our deep dive on learning English all on your own.
We're so glad you're back with us.
We've been talking about all sorts of great tips and tricks for making the most of your English learning journey.
Yeah, we talked about setting goals. We talked about finding resources. We talked about practicing consistently.
So important.
So important. And now I think it's time to talk about one of maybe the most important thing, which is remembering everything.
Yes, remembering all that new stuff.
Yeah.
All those words, all those grammar rules.
Because it can be really overwhelming.
It can be a lot.
Like you learn something new and then you're like, wait, what was that again?
Oh, I've been there.
Yeah, me too. So many times. So do you have any tips for actually like making sure that the stuff we're learning sticks?
Absolutely. So we talked about flashcards a little bit earlier.
Yeah, those little cards.
Yeah, the ones with the word on one side and the meaning on the other.
Yeah.
Well, those are great, but technology has taken flashcards to a whole new
A
level.
whole new level.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
There are these amazing apps that use something called spaced repetition.
Spaced repetition.
Ah.
Thank you. Again, very sciencey word.
It sounds fancy, but it's actually really simple.
Okay.
Basically, it's a system that helps you remember words better by showing them to you right before you're about to forget them.
That is so cool. So it's like it's reading my mind.
It's almost like that.
Yep.
It tracks how well you remember each word, and then it schedules your review sessions accordingly.
So I don't have to like try to remember when to study certain words.
Exactly. The app does all that for you.
That's amazing. Okay, so these apps sound pretty awesome.
They are really, really helpful for building vocabulary and making sure that you don't forget those new words.
And I'm guessing they're probably more convenient than carrying around a stack of flashcards.
Way more convenient. You can have thousands of flashcards in your pocket.
That's amazing.
And you can study anywhere, anytime.
Oh, I love that.
On the bus, in line, at the store, wherever you have a few minutes to spare.
I mean, we're all about finding those pockets of time, right?
Yes, those little pockets of time can really add up.
Okay, so spaced repetition apps, those are a must-have.
Definitely give them a try.
Now let's talk about motivation, because I think this is something that a lot of people struggle with.
Oh, yeah. Motivation can be tough, especially when you're learning on your own.
Because it's easy to just kind of like give up or get distracted.
Easy to lose steam.
Yeah, so any tips for staying motivated and excited about learning English?
Absolutely. One of the most important things is to celebrate your progress.
So, like, throw a party.
You can throw a party if you want, but even small celebrations can be really effective, like acknowledging your achievements no matter how small they are.
So, like, if I learned 5 new words today,
Yeah, that's worth celebrating.
I should be proud of myself.
Absolutely. Be proud of yourself. Give yourself a pat on the back.
Okay. I like that. What else?
Another thing that can be really helpful is to keep a study journal.
A study journal. Okay. I love journaling in general.
It's a great way to track your progress
Okay.
and also to reflect on your learning journey.
So I can write down what I'm learning.
Yes, you can write down new words, grammar rules, anything that you're working on.
And I can also write down, like, how I'm feeling about the process.
Exactly, like if you're feeling frustrated or if you're feeling excited about something.
Right. Because sometimes it's good to just kind of, like, get those feelings out.
It can help you process those emotions.
And then you can kind of look back on it later and see how far you've come.
Exactly, and that can be really motivating on those days when you're feeling a bit discouraged.
Oh, I love that idea. Okay, so celebrate your progress, keep a study journal. What else?
Another thing that can be really helpful is to set milestones and reward yourself when you reach them.
Rewards. Oh, I'm all about rewards.
And they don't have to be big rewards.
Okay.
It could be something small, like a cup of coffee,
Or a piece of chocolate.
or watching an episode of your favorite show.
I love that.
Just something that you enjoy that will give you a little boost of motivation.
Okay, so set goals, give yourself rewards, make it fun.
Exactly. Make it fun and enjoyable.
All right, so we've talked about a lot of internal stuff like motivation and goals and all of that.
Yeah, it's kind of like the mindset of language learning.
Right now, let's talk about something a little bit more external.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
Immersion.
Immersion, yes.
This is a big one.
Sounds a little bit scary.
It can be a little bit intimidating,
Whoa.
but it's also incredibly effective.
Okay, so what exactly does it mean to immerse yourself in English?
Well, imagine a baby learning their first language.
Okay.
They're surrounded by it all the time, right?
Right. They hear it everywhere. They see it everywhere. Exactly. They're constantly being exposed to the language, and that's how they learn it naturally.
So it's kind of like creating that same environment for ourselves, even if we're not living in an English-speaking country.
Exactly. That's the goal of immersion.
Okay. I like that. So how do we actually do that?
Well, there are so many fun and creative ways to do it.
Okay. Like what?
One of the most popular methods is watching movies and TV shows in English.
Okay. I love movies.
It's a great way to get exposed to the language in a fun and engaging way.
Yeah, but sometimes it can be hard to understand everything, especially if you're a beginner.
That's true. So I recommend starting with English subtitles.
Okay.
That way you can follow along with the dialogue, and gradually, as you get more comfortable, you can try turning the subtitles off.
Okay, so like training wheels for my ears.
Exactly. And you'll be surprised how much you can understand even without the subtitles once you start getting used to the sounds of the language.
Okay, I like that. What about music?
Music is another fantastic way to immerse yourself.
I love music.
Listen to English songs, sing along, pay attention to the lyrics.
It's like sneaking in some learning while you're having fun.
Exactly.
And then you're like, oh, I know all the words to this song.
And you've learned some new vocabulary without even realizing it.
That's awesome. Okay, what about reading?
Reading is essential.
Reading.
Yes, find books,
Hmm.
magazines, articles online, anything that interests you in English,
Okay.
and just start reading.
Even if I don't understand every single word.
Even if you don't understand every single word, it's okay to look things up.
Okay.
The important thing is to just get exposed to the language and to start building that reading comprehension.
Okay. I like that. And you know what I actually like to do
What's that?
is read out loud
Oh, that's a great tip.
because it helps me with my pronunciation.
It does, and it also helps you kind of get a feel for the rhythm of the language.
Yeah, like how the words flow together.
Exactly. It's a great way to practice.
Okay. So we've got movies,
Nah.
we've got music, we've got reading, all great ways to immerse ourselves in English.
Yeah, tons of options. And remember, it doesn't have to be all or nothing.
Right.
Even small amounts of immersion can make a big difference over time.
So like even if I can only watch one TV show in English per week,
That's still great.
that's still something.
It's still exposing you to the language and helping you learn naturally.
Okay, I like that. Now let's talk about something that can be a little bit scary for some people,
Okay, what's that?
speaking out loud.
Oh, yes, the dreaded speaking out loud.
I think this is something that a lot of language learners struggle with.
It's very common. It can be nerve-wracking.
Yeah, because it's like putting yourself out there and you're worried about making mistakes.
Exactly. And nobody likes to feel embarrassed.
So any tips for making speaking out loud a little bit less terrifying?
Absolutely. So, one of the easiest things you can do is talk to yourself in English.
Again, with the talking to myself.
And I know it sounds silly, but it's actually really effective.
Okay.
You can talk to yourself in the mirror, or you
Yeah.
can just talk out loud while you're doing everyday things.
So like I could be cooking dinner and be like, I'm cutting the onions.
Exactly, or I'm stirring the soup.
Right.
It doesn't matter what you say. The important thing is to just get those words out of your mouth.
So I'm not worried about grammar or pronunciation.
Not at this stage. Just focus on fluency and getting comfortable with speaking.
Okay, I can do that.
Another great tip is to record yourself speaking.
Okay, we talked about this before.
Yes, but it's worth mentioning again because it's so helpful.
And a little bit cringy.
It can be a little cringy, but it's a great way to hear what you sound like and to identify areas where you might need to improve.
Right, so like maybe I realize that I'm always pronouncing a certain word wrong.
Exactly. And then you can focus on practicing that specific word.
Okay, I like that.
It's like having your own personal language coach in your pocket.
Right, so we can talk to ourselves, we can record ourselves.
Uh-huh.
What about talking to real people?
Real people. Yes,
Yeah.
that's the ultimate goal, right?
Yes, but how do we do that if we're learning on our own?
Well, luckily, there are some amazing tools available online that can connect you with native English speakers.
Okay, like what?
There are these fantastic apps called language exchange apps.
Language exchange apps. Okay.
And they connect you with people from all over the world who want to learn your language and who speak English.
So I can help someone learn my language.
Exactly. And they can help you learn English.
Oh, that's a great trade.
It's a win-win situation.
I love it. So how do these apps work?
Well, you basically create a profile, and then you can search for people who match your interests and language goals. And then you can connect with them and start chatting.
So I can like send text messages.
You can send text messages, you can have voice calls, you can even have video calls.
Wow, so I can really practice my speaking skills.
Exactly. And it's a great way to meet people from different cultures and to learn about the world.
That's so cool. Okay, so language exchange apps, definitely going to check those out.
They're a great resource for practicing your speaking and for making new friends.
And for just kind of like getting over that fear of speaking to someone.
Absolutely, because everyone on those apps is in the same boat. They're all learning a language.
Right, so they're not going to judge me if I make a mistake.
Exactly. Everyone's there to support each other.
I love that. Okay, so we've covered so much ground today.
We have.
But before we move on to our final segment, I just want to reiterate one really important point.
Okay.
Consistency is key.
Consistency is key.
It's so important to practice regularly, even if it's just for a few minutes each day.
Because those little bits of practice really add up over time.
Right. It's like building a muscle.
Exactly. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
So even if I'm feeling tired or busy, I should still try to do something English related each day.
Even 5 or 10 minutes is better than nothing.
Right. Because it's all about keeping that momentum going
Keep that momentum going.
and making English a part of your daily routine.
I love it. All right. Are you ready to move on to our final segment?
I'm ready. Let's do it. And we're back for our final part of this deep dive on learning English on your own.
It's been a great journey so far.
It has. We've talked about so many different things, but I think one thing we haven't really touched on yet is setting goals.
Ah, yes. Goals. the roadmap to success.
I like that, the roadmap.
They give you direction, they help you stay motivated.
So when it comes to learning English, what kind of goals should we be setting?
Well, there are two main types of goals. We want to think about short-term goals and long-term goals.
Okay, so like a short-term goal might be, I want to learn 5 new words every day.
Exactly. That's a perfect example. Or I want to practice speaking for 10 minutes every day.
Okay, and then a long-term goal might be something like, I want to be able to have a conversation with a native speaker.
Exactly. Or I want to be able to read a book in English.
Right, or watch a movie without subtitles.
Those are all great examples.
So the short-term goals are like the stepping stones to get to the long-term goals.
That's a great way to put it. They're the building blocks
Yeah.
that help you achieve those big dreams.
Awesome. So how do we make sure that our goals are actually achievable?
That's a great question because sometimes we set these huge goals for ourselves and then we get discouraged when we don't reach them right away.
Right, like I'm going to be fluent in a month.
Exactly. That's not really realistic.
Yeah, so what's a better approach?
So there's a really helpful framework called SMART goals.
SMART goals, I've heard of that.
Yeah, it stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound.
Okay, so break that down for me.
All right, so specific means your goal should be clear and well-defined.
Okay, so instead of saying, I want to improve my English,
Right.
I might say, I want to be able to have a 10-minute conversation about my hobbies in English.
Yes, that's much more specific.
Okay, what about measurable?
Measurable means that you should be able to track your progress.
Okay, so like, if my goal is to learn new vocabulary,
Right.
I could track how many words I'm learning each week.
Exactly. And you can use a vocabulary app or a notebook or whatever works for you.
Okay, cool. What about attainable?
Attainable means that your goal should be challenging, but still realistic.
Okay, so I shouldn't set a goal that's like way beyond my current abilities.
Right, because that's just setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay.
What about relevant?
Relevant means that your goal should be aligned with your overall objectives.
Okay, so why am I learning English?
Exactly. Is it for work? Is it for travel? Is it for personal enrichment?
And then my goals should reflect that.
Exactly.
Okay, and last but not least, time-bound.
Time-bound means that you should set a deadline for yourself.
Okay, so like I want to achieve this goal by the end of the month.
Exactly. Or by the end of the year, whatever time frame works for you.
Okay, so SMART goals.
SMART goals, they're a game changer.
They really are. It's a great framework.
It helps you set yourself up for success.
So we've got our goals set. How do we stay motivated?
Motivation is key because learning the language takes time and effort.
It does. It's a journey.
It is a journey.
And there are going to be ups and downs.
Absolutely. So one of the best ways to stay motivated is to celebrate your progress.
Okay, so like even if it's a small achievement.
Even if it's small, acknowledge it. Be proud of yourself.
So like if I manage to have a 5-minute conversation in English,
Yes, that's amazing. Celebrate that.
I should be proud of myself.
Absolutely. You're making progress.
Okay, what else can we do to stay motivated?
Another thing that can be really helpful is to find a learning partner or a study buddy.
Oh, okay, so like someone who's also learning English.
Exactly. You can practice together. You can support each other.
You can hold each other accountable.
Exactly. And it makes the journey a lot more fun.
Right, because learning English shouldn't feel like a chore.
It should be enjoyable.
Absolutely. And you know what else can make it more enjoyable?
What's that?
Finding ways to connect your learning with your interests.
Ah, yes, that's so important.
So like if I love to cook,
Yes,
I could try reading English recipes
that's a great idea. Or watching cooking shows in English.
or listening to podcasts about food.
Exactly. Find ways to make it relevant to your life.
And then it feels less like studying and more like something I'm actually interested in.
Exactly. And that's when the magic happens.
Right, when you're actually enjoying the process.
Absolutely. Because learning should be fun.
It really should, and I think that's a great note to end on.
It is.
Remember, learning English is a journey. It's not a race.
It takes time and effort.
But it's so rewarding.
It is, and it opens up so many doors.
Absolutely. So keep practicing, keep learning,
Keep exploring.
and most importantly, have fun.
Have fun and celebrate your successes along the way.
We're so proud of you for taking this journey, and we know you can achieve your goals.
We believe in you.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive on learning English on your own.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll see you next time.
Happy learning.